phone rang at 3:07 a.m. Not buzzed. Not chimed. Rang. The kind of sharp, violent ringing that slices through a quiet house like a blade. I was asleep in my cabin out by Miller's Creek. Fire had burned down to embers. Wind pushing snow against the windows. Peaceful. Still. That sound didn't belong in a night like that. I reached for the phone, heart already pounding because I'm old enough to know one thing. Nobody calls with good news at 3 in the morning. I answered without looking at the screen. Yeah. For a second there was nothing. Just breathing. Shaky. Fast. Like someone running from something. Then I heard her voice. Dad. It wasn't the voice I raised. It wasn't the confident, sharp-witted woman who worked numbers for a living. It was the voice of a little girl hiding in a closet during a thunderstorm. Dad, please come get me. My stomach dropped. Sarah? What's wrong? Silence. Then 5 words that turned my blood to ice. Don't let him kill me. The line went dead. No goodbye. No address. No explanation. Just silence. Most men would have called 911. I didn't. Not because I don't believe in the law, but because I know how this world works. By the time paperwork clears and officers get dispatched, damage is already done. And I didn't have time for damage. I pulled on my boots. Didn't bother with a coat zipper. Grabbed my keys. The old Ford started on the second turn like she always does. The drive to the Ashford estate normally takes 40 minutes. I made it in 22. Snow was coming down hard. Heavy Midwest kind that eats headlights. Black ice on the curves. My truck fishtailed twice. Didn't slow down. Because that sentence kept replaying in my head. Don't let him kill me. Sarah doesn't exaggerate. She's the calm one. The logical one. If she said that, it wasn't drama. It was fact. 3 weeks ago she came by for Christmas. She wore a sweater inside my cabin even though the fire was cranked high. Long sleeves. Didn't take her coat off for 20 minutes. Every time her phone buzzed she flinched. I asked her if Justin was treating her right. She smiled. That polished, practiced smile. Dad, relax. You watch too many crime shows. I wanted to believe her. Because fathers want to believe they raised strong daughters. But strength doesn't matter if someone's breaking you behind closed doors. The Ashford estate sits behind iron gates and old money. The kind of place where lawns are manicured even in winter. Where problems get handled quietly. The gates were closed. Keypad glowing red. I didn't even try the code she once gave me. I shifted into low gear and drove straight through. Iron screamed. Sparks flew. Gate gave way. I didn't stop. I parked right on the damn lawn. Stormed to the door. Pounded. Opened the door. Porch light flicked on. Door opened slow. Not Sarah. Her mother-in-law. Evelyn Ashford. Silk robe. Perfect hair. Disgust in her eyes. You're making a scene, Daniel. Where is she? She's resting. I just spoke to her. She had one of her episodes. That word. Episodes. Rich people love that word when they need to erase bruises. She's emotional. Dramatic. You wouldn't understand our world. Move. She stepped in front of the doorway. You're trespassing. I looked at her the way I used to look at obstacles. Calculated. Measured. One more time. I said quietly. Move. She smirked. You people only know force, don't you? That was it. I didn't argue. I drove my shoulder into the door. Lock exploded. She stumbled back screaming about antiques and lawsuits. I didn't care. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Sarah. No answer. Master bedroom. Empty. Lamp knocked over. Glass shattered. Bathroom door locked. Then I heard it. A faint whisper. Dad. My chest tightened. Stand back, baby. 1 kick. Door cracked. 2nd kick. Frame splintered. The bathroom was white marble. White makes blood look louder. She was curled on the floor. Left eye swollen. Lip split. Arm bent wrong. Wrong in a way that doesn't happen from tripping. I dropped to my knees. Checked pulse. Still there. Thank God. She opened one eye. You came. I always come. I wrapped her in my coat. That's when I heard him. Slow clap. Justin Ashford leaned against the doorway, holding a glass of scotch. Like this was entertainment. She's dramatic, he said casually. She fell. She has a broken arm. She's clumsy. No remorse. No fear. Just boredom. Take her, he said. But leave the jewelry. I paid for that. There's a moment when a man decides what kind of person he's going to be. I could have ended him right there. 3 seconds. Maybe 4. I know how. But Sarah whispered. Dad, let's go. So I swallowed it. For now. I picked her up. She felt too light. Walked past him. He leaned close and whispered. Don't bring her back until she learns respect. I stopped, looked him in the eyes. You better pray, I'm just a mechanic. He laughed. I carried her downstairs. But before I could get her into my truck, blue and red lights flooded the driveway. Police cruisers. Guns drawn. Get on the ground. Evelyn on the porch, crying crocodile tears. That's him. He attacked us. Justin holding her like a hero. I put Sarah in the truck seat first. Then I raised my hands. They cuffed me in the snow. Charged me with breaking and entering. Assault. Attempted kidnapping. I watched through the cruiser window as Justin shook hands with officers. Smiled. Winked at me. He thought he won. He thought I was just some retired grease-stained nobody. He didn't know what I used to do before I opened that mechanic shop. He didn't know about the contacts, the favors owed, the quiet investments under different names. He didn't know that the man he just humiliated had built logistics networks that move things governments pretend not to see. They put me in a holding cell for 4 hours. When they released me at sunrise, they told me to cool off. Family disputes. Messy business. I nodded. Drove straight to Mercy County Hospital. Asked for Sarah. The nurse typed. Paused. Then said, I'm sorry. Her husband filed medical proxy paperwork. No visitors allowed. Especially you. I looked down the hallway. Justin stood outside her room, talking to the doctor, playing the concerned husband. Perfect performance. When he saw me, he smiled. And that's when I understood something very clearly. This wasn't a fight. It was a war. And Justin Ashford just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because the man he thought he buried in handcuffs? That man isn't buried. He's awake. And he's planning. Justin Ashford thought the hospital hallway was his territory. Bright lights. Doctors on speed dial. Lawyers on retainer. Money stacked so high it insulated him from consequences. He stood outside room 304 like a king guarding a throne. When he saw me walking toward him, he didn't flinch. He smiled. That same smug, country club smile. Didn't they tell you? He said softly. You're not welcome here. I stopped 3 feet from him. Move. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. She signed the medical proxy 2 years ago. You're nothing here. You're just the guy who broke into my house. Security started walking down the hall. I didn't argue. I didn't swing. I just looked at him the way you look at a man who doesn't understand what's coming. You made one mistake, I said quietly. He raised an eyebrow. You underestimated how far I'm willing to go. I turned and walked away before security reached us. Not because I was defeated. Because the next move wasn't physical. It was strategic that I didn't go back to my cabin. I drove to a storage facility 30 miles outside town. Unit 47. Paid in cash for 10 years. Inside wasn't weapons. It wasn't cash. It was paperwork. Hard drives. International account ledgers. Corporate filings under names most people never hear. Justin thought I was a mechanic. I am a mechanic. But 25 years ago, after the Marines, I built logistics routes overseas. Supply chains. Shipping networks. Quiet infrastructure that moves commodities across oceans. I invested early. Smart. Silent. And one of those early investments? A minority stake in a private equity group that just so happens to finance a large portion of Ashford Holdings' debt. Justin didn't know that. Because my name isn't Daniel Mercer on those documents. It's D. Mercer Holdings LLC. And that LLC owns 11% of the lending structure propping up his empire. Enough to make noise. Enough to apply pressure. By noon, 3 phone calls were made. Not loud ones. Calm ones. A banker in Chicago. An attorney in New York. An old Marine buddy who now works compliance for a federal contracting office. I didn't ask for favors. I presented facts. Domestic violence allegations. Police reports. Financial irregularities I'd quietly documented over the years when Justin bragged too much at dinner. Men like Justin talk when they drink. And they always think the quiet guy at the table isn't listening. He talked about offshore accounts, aggressive tax shelters, shell acquisitions. He thought I was just nodding politely. I was memorizing. By 4 p.m., Ashford Holdings stock dipped 6%. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to cause boardroom anxiety. By 6 p.m., one of their primary lenders requested an internal review. By 8 p.m., a reporter from a financial journal sent an inquiry email regarding unverified claims of executive misconduct. Money doesn't panic. People do. And Justin was about to panic. At 9:12 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. His voice wasn't smooth anymore. What are you doing? I leaned back in the chair at the hospital cafeteria. Having coffee. You're interfering in my business. No. I'm auditing it. Silence. Then anger. You think you can threaten me? I don't threaten, I said calmly. I apply leverage. He lowered his voice. What do you want? Now we were getting somewhere. I want my daughter safe. I want charges dropped. And I want her divorce uncontested. He laughed, but it was force. You have no proof of anything. Check your compliance inbox, I said. He hung up. 10 minutes later, my Marine buddy texted. Federal review initiated. Justin didn't know which direction the fire was coming from. Financial scrutiny. Domestic violence inquiry. Board pressure. And here's the thing about men like him. They can handle lawsuits. They can handle scandal. But they cannot handle loss of control. At midnight, the hospital called me. Mr. Mercer? Yes. Your daughter has revoked her husband's medical proxy. My chest tightened. How? She regained consciousness. She specifically requested you. I closed my eyes. That was the first real breath I'd taken in 24 hours. When I entered her room, she looked fragile, cast on her arm, bruises blooming across her face. But her eyes were clear, strong. I heard everything, she whispered. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, I said. She shook her head slightly. He said you'd never believe me. My jaw tightened. You never have to prove pain to me. A tear slipped down her cheek. I was scared of what he'd do to you. I leaned forward. Sweetheart, he should have been scared of what I'd do to him. For the first time since that 3 a.m. call, she smiled. Small, but real. By morning, Justin was no longer standing outside her hospital room. He was in a conference room with lawyers. By afternoon, Ashford Holdings stock had dropped 14%. By evening, the board placed him on temporary leave pending investigation. Money protects power, but bad press poisons it. And domestic violence attached to a public executive? That's radioactive. 2 weeks later, the charges against me were quietly dismissed. Security footage from inside the house mysteriously surfaced showing Sarah being shoved. The police report shifted tone. The narrative changed. Justin filed for amicable separation. Translation? He was negotiating survival. Sarah signed divorce papers in my kitchen at the cabin. Snow melting outside. Fire burning warm. No silk. Robes. No marble floors. Just peace. Are you going to destroy him? She asked softly. I stared into the fire. I don't need to. She looked confused. He'll destroy himself trying to hold on to what's already slipping. And that's exactly what happened. Federal audits expand when you dig. Financial skeletons multiply. Investors retreat. Friends disappear. 3 months later, Justin Ashford resigned permanently. 6 months later, Ashford Holdings was acquired at a discount by a competitor. His name vanished from headlines. Because powerful families don't fall loudly. They collapse quietly. One evening, months later, Sarah sat on the dock by Miller's Creek. Cast gone. Bruises faded. Stronger. You were never just a mechanic, were you? She asked. I smiled slightly. I fix things. She laughed softly. Even billionaires? Especially billionaires. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Thank you for coming. I looked out over the water. I will always come. Because that's the thing about fathers. We don't need capes. We don't need titles. We just need one phone call. And someone foolish enough to think we won't answer it. Justin thought he was untouchable. He thought money made him powerful. But real power? Real power is quiet. It waits. It listens. And when it moves, it doesn't miss.